Villa, really interesting one for me. Great season last season. You had the amazing nights against PSG and Bayern, and were in the Champions League. Had some great players. Asensio wasn't a great summer, wasn't a great start to the season. Has picked up a little bit, but how's it been over the last 3-4 months as a Villa fan?
SCR comes out of nowhere, which is UEFA's squad cost rules, and you're like, what's going on here? A lot of Villa fans are saying it's been quite boring, quite slow, but he's stuck at it, and now he's starting to get sort of like Donyell Marlon back into form. But this is a big game for Villa because we've got you guys, we've then got Man City, and we've got Liverpool. So this is our sort of first big test of, like, you know, say classic big six teams.
Thank you for coming on. I think it's a hat-trick appearance I can't think of any hat-trick scorers in Villa Spurs. They used to batter us back in the 90s, so I'm sure some Villa players done it.
Did Saunders not do it? He scored two. Was it two in that game?
Jerry Francis game?
Yeah.
Anyway, how are you, Luke?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad that sort of Premier League football's back this week. So yeah, all good.
Have all the Villa players come through international duty so far? I know Watkins smashed him into the post, and we're all going, oh, maybe he's injured, but he seems all right.
Yeah, well, it's come out this morning that he's going to miss the game against Latvia. So I imagine it's just sort of like an impact injury. So he'll probably be fine, to be fair. But yeah, all our internationals have done pretty well this international break. Watkins scored, Rodgers scored, Konsa played well. So yeah, looking good.
Yeah, Marlon scored, I think, last night as well.
He did, yeah.
So again, Villa, really interesting one for me. Great season last season. You had the amazing nights against PSG and Bayern, and were in the Champions League. Had some great players. Asensio wasn't a great summer, wasn't a great start to the season. Has picked up a little bit, but how's it been over the last 3-4 months as a Villa fan?
Yeah, not the best. We had sort of like PSR sort of lingering over us, and we navigated that, and we were like, okay, we're fine now. And then this SCR comes out of nowhere, which is UEFA's squad cost rules, and you're like, what's going on here? But basically, our problem has been that we've sort of used a high revenue to wage ratio, and we've maxed out on wages, and that sort of doesn't fill in with sort of like UEFA's wage rule. So it was in the 90s, and we've had to get it down to around 70 now. So we've been able to navigate it, but it's just meant that the targets that we went after, we couldn't go after, and money was a bit of an issue. And yeah, so it was a bit of a mess that sort of fed into the start of the season. I remember the game before Crystal Palace, we'd got Martinez that was sort of like waiting by his phone to leave. And, you know, he's a big player for Villa, and it's just not great, you know, when you need players of that ilk to be all in, and they're not. And yeah, it just transpired into a bit of a mess. And I think credit to Emery that he's been able to pick the squad back up and stick with his sort of philosophy, and they're all sort of buying back into it now. So it's looking better than it was. But yeah, like you say, really frustrating.
You mentioned Emery there. I like Emery, good manager, and it's interesting you talk about the energy, because he's been a bit dour recently. No energy from him. The whole Marco Bizot interview was a bit weird. But you think it's starting to just turn around now? I know you've beaten Fulham, you've beaten Burnley. I'd expect you to win those, and Bologna as well. Were they good performances though?
They're getting better every game. So, you know, everyone was better than the last one, basically. The one against Burnley was really impressive, to be honest. We completely controlled the game, especially after a game in Europe as well. Like you say, Emery, he did look a bit down and feeling a bit sorry for himself. And I think we've got a new sort of transfer guru coming called Roberto Alabe, who Emery's worked with in the past, and Monchi's now gone. And I think this has kind of given Emery a little bit of a new lease of life and a fresh sense of idea, sort of like transfer-wise. And I think that's probably the lift that he needed. I think, you know, Emery's been in the job now quite a long time. He doesn't really stick around at the clubs that he's been at. So I think this fresh change gives Emery a new sort of lease of life. And yeah, to be honest, he's been sticking to the way he wants to play. A lot of Villa fans are saying it's been quite boring, quite slow, but he's stuck at it. And now he's starting to get sort of like Donyell Marlon back into form. And like you say, we saw that against Netherlands yesterday. And yeah, everything's just looking a little bit better.
On the Monchi thing, obviously, such a dramatic figure. He goes by one name, and everyone just seems to go along with that. He comes in sort of as this heralded transfer god, and no one's allowed to sort of say anything about him. But from the outside looking in at Villa, you talk about the PSR and the SER issues. It strikes me from the outside that he took a lot of swings on a lot of players at quite a high value, and not as many as really you would have wanted to have come through. I mean, where does Villa's squad look right now in terms of the players that have come in, and what do you think his legacy might be as he departs?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean, to be honest. But the way I've sort of tried to look at it is that when Monchi came in, he didn't sort of have like an open checkbook that he could just go out and get what he wanted. He sort of had to evolve with this current state of Villa. So, you know, PSR, how does he navigate that? And he has had to navigate it over a couple of windows. And it's not ideal to be able to do that, because he's probably got players that he wants and then he can't do it because the finances don't allow it. And then sort of like SCR comes and he's having to then navigate that. So I imagine it's been really difficult. And, you know, some of the players that he has brought in, you know, have been really good, like Pau Torres, Tielemans, Rodgers, etc. Now Marlon's starting to fire. But then one of the frustrations that I've had with him is that he's all about the name. And I think that's sometimes not that great. You know, when we're sort of dealing with these difficult finance situations, like he's happy to go and splash the cash on Asensio and Rashford. And it did kind of work to an extent. But, you know, there's been others like Onana, Maatsen doesn't play. And I think some of other Villa's frustration is that a lot of the Monchi Emery signings are generally on the bench, and the ones that predate Emery are the starters. So I think this is why Alabe coming in for me, who's a little bit more strategic, should help Villa, you know, scout better and bring in players for less money that probably add better value than just trying to go out and sign a name. So I'd say Monchi's very name-based, and hopefully Alabe sticks to his scouting and strategy.
I just wondered, having finished fourth a couple of seasons ago, and obviously last season it came very close to doing it again, and obviously that's what the fans were kind of hanging on. But with you now being in the Europa League this season, is that the main focus, do you think, for Emery to get you across the line in that, rather than actually try and get back into the Champions League? What would the fans rather?
I mean, the fans would rather do a Spurs last year, win the Europa and win a trophy.
Okay.
It's interesting as well, because joking aside, Spurs have been laughed at for not winning a trophy for a long time. Villa are a massive club. Was it 96, the last one? You know, and this is a trophy you can really
with
win.
Emery, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he's won it 4 times. He's been in a final and lost as well. So this is his like bread and butter, basically. But I think Emery, he'll always say like Premier League's the priority. That's what he always says. But I just think this has to be as big a priority, because, you know, it's so difficult to get Champions League football anyway. But I think this gives us another opportunity to try and do it. And, you know, some of the teams that are in it, you know, they're big names, aren't they? But they're not necessarily right at the pinnacle of European football. You know, we've beat Feyenoord away, which is probably one of the toughest away games in this competition. So I think we've just got to attack both, really. And you know, Villa fans are craving for a trophy, really. So, I'd like to see us try and go all the way in it.
And what about Sunday? Just looking at your away performances, Feyenoord was your first win of the season. In the league, lost at Brentford, drew at Everton and drew at Sunderland. Goals have been a problem. How have away performances been? What is the problem with going forward, and how do you see Sunday?
Tough game. It's always a tough game. I actually feel better now Ange isn't there, because
really?
He was
you and us both,
so
mate.
do we, mate.
Join the club.
But away from home, I mean, you battered us like a good few times. And
that was our last good performance, 4-1.
Yeah, but
the year before we should have been 6-0 up
with it. But it's been a bit of like catch-20. Like we're quite good defensively. We've kept quite a few clean sheets in all competitions, and defensively we're pretty solid. Goals have been a bit of a problem, but that looks like it's getting there. And I mean, the way Emery sets up, it's quite controlled, possession-based. He'll try and have a real foothold in the game, classic, grow into it, and try and win the game in the second half. You know, he's really big on keeping clean sheets, so that's a priority away from home, he always says. So, I think try and quiet and the crowd grow into it, really. I think he's got a pretty good record against Frank as well. When he was at Brentford, we were pretty good against his side. So I don't know whether that plays into anything, but yeah, that's kind of what I feel like will probably happen.
I always love playing Villa. It's not a fixture I look out for. When the fixtures come out, it's like, when are we playing Villa? But actually, when we play Villa, it's a proper game. Spurs,
proper
Villa,
game.
big club. You know Villa are going to sell out. Classic. They never have to change their kit, I don't think. Wait, do they change their kit away to us? I don't know. It's just a classic football, Sabutio game of football. I love it. I'm looking forward to that. Has some great wins, some awful performances. Villa once scored, I think, 3 goal of the season contenders. Alan Wright, Dion Dublin, Benito Carboni, I think, all scored 3 absolute worldies once at the old stadium. But what prediction for Sunday?
Oh, I hate doing these when you got on other people's shows.
Come on.
To be honest, this is a big game for Villa because we've got you guys, we've then got Man City, and we've got Liverpool. So this is our sort of first big test of, like, say classic Big Six teams. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm going to say a draw. I'll go 2-2.
Okay, it's big for us as well because we need to win. We've been good on the road and poor at home. It's about time that we had a good home performance. All right, Luke, as I say, good luck for the weekend. I don't mean it, but no, listen,
cool.
It's always great to have. No, he's genuinely one of the best we get on this show from the opposing fans. So really appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much.
All the best.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Luke. Thank you.
Cheers.